Okay, so I just got to re-add it again. Now I updated the drivers on this thing, so hopefully this will be better. That we can go in, add the noise gate, turn on the compressor, and make sure that it's actually turned up. Although it doesn't seem to be very loud. Hello. Wow, the game needs to go up a lot. 23 gain, 24. Big bottom. This looks good. Maybe 28. Let's see how 28 sounds. Okay, but what about the background noise? I don't know, are we getting background noise? Let's add a filter to it real quick. Alright, cool. Let me know what this is like on the stream. If it's too much, if it's too loud, if it's clear, if it's got background. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's too loud, who knows. Let me see the sound effects and stuff work. But hey, I look. It's like I'm loud and clear on it. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's peaking or anything. Don't know. Let's find out. Anyway, this is gonna be the first stream of the year. This year is gonna be playability, gameplay, systems. You know, it's gonna be. My goal is to be able to create weekly challenges in the test build, and if the weekly challenges are actually completable, right? Salvage X amount of whatever, farm X amount of whatever. Like get them working in multiplayer. Get them, you know, not everything is multiplayer. There's a lot of things that have been broken. I have all the flight systems online working now. I thought we had a late joining system here on this. Oh, multiplayer beer. Oh my god, what is it? My autocomplete today. Oh. Hey, are you using a game engine? Hey, Hanno. Yeah, I'm using Godot. Yeah, this is the game. It's called Unforgiven Space. It's a multiplayer game. Think of it like a Sea of Thieves in space. So this is the game, you know. We have all these NPCs that are doing trade runs right now that are going from like point A to point B. So you know you can be a pirate or you can do whatever you want. Oh yeah, right. I never put the I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab my coffee. Okay, so let's do some pickup. Do a little bit of project management. So NPCs can spawn their own ship. This is QA, weapons. Ore mining ship. Not updating UI or resources when mining. Follow camera, chase camera for ships and vehicles. Alright, let's go figure out why we're not actually mining. Hey! And we'll do it in testing. We'll check the server first. Let me move the player. Oh yeah, I wasn't technically supposed to be given. When I spawned that in, the NPCs weren't supposed to be given that ship. I'm gonna wait for this one to take off and then I'll jump in. Yeah, it's like I just spawned on that pad, but we weren't. Let me make sure we are actually. To be to disconnect from a non-existent connection from the peer connected. Yeah, so are we setting the pad correctly? So I'm responding to ship to the station. We're getting a free hangar. Okay, so we have the ship. We never actually set the hangar. Okay. Hey, Autumn. Just try that again. Make some very quick fixes. Make sure that we actually make that a hangar assignment, as we switched over from landing pads to hangars. So just trying to unify everything for the new hangar animations. That's why these little pockets are here. These are the places the NPCs go to. And it's also why all the NPCs are now coming to life and kind of doing their own thing. There's just no other, there's no, yeah, see, so they're just kind of, they're waiting, there's no waypoints, there's nothing for them to do. And their timer runs out, so they spawn in their own chips now, and they will go on about their day. So the transition from virtual NPC to a ship and all of the traversal is finished, which is great. So they'll now fly on their own and migrate, right? NPCs will now migrate stations, so they can be used for bounty missions and deliveries and spawning in their own cargo, and you know, it's like a big deal, but at the same time it's still very primitive. But we are kind of mixed in, so as they're all trying to leave because there's nothing else for them to do right now, and we want to spawn in our ship in the mix, if there isn't a hangar for us to do so, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, so we got the second one this time. And none of these NPCs that are coming back should interrupt it until we leave, as long as it's clearing the reference. So the problem that we're having that we need to solve is going to be, so we have ore and gas. We have a whole system here for mining. And this, ever since we switched over to fully multiplayer only ships, the ore and gas indicators are not really working. So we need to go and find a gas volume and do some mining and do some testing, and we'll just see what happens. Might just run this thing in debug mode, but we'll get it working on the server first, because we did change the way mining beams and mining lasers work. So it might very well be the case that they're being destroyed at the same time that they're being pulled up. So like as I'm probably doing damage and not actually sucking up the ore. It's probably being destroyed instead of consumed. Because our yeah, I gotta clear these. Yeah, see, there's so much spam now from all the NPC motion. Oh yeah, so that's another thing. We need a queue. Yeah, queue for, because otherwise every 5 seconds the NPCs are going to keep trying to ask. They're asking the system, hey, I need to leave, I need to leave, I need to leave, and that's fine. But really, we need a queue for the star system or for the station to request hang on, and self-check the queue versus making new requests. And then we won't really log the yeah, so we won't log queue checks. And we might do like a possible debug UI for hangar system queue, so we can kind of see what's actually happening on the server. Because it's kind of hard to know, you know, like, are we actually taking on anything here? We know they're breaking, but this is supposed to be spamming. Right, but if we look, if you just turn on the no shit, let's just maybe turn off some of that NPC debugging right now while we're doing a bunch of stuff. NPC ship spawner, so just the requests that are being made. Okay. Yeah, we need to make it a little bit less spammy. Yeah, so it's working now. It's including the player ships in with the NPCs, which is good. And let's see how spammy the console is right now. We have some NPC sensors, the navigation. You don't really need to debug NPC sensors right now. Make sure everyone is subscribing to these if the peer is connected. So I think ship sensors we can kind of turn off as well. Let's just make this kind of clean. Focus on debugging only what we need to debug right now. And the navigation's not so bad. It only pretty much updates as the ship's arriving, where it's going. So arriving and leaving is fine. So we're supposed to be able to mine gas here as well. So when we're doing damage to the asteroid here, we should be seeing there should be some console logs. And I have a feeling the base class of the ship weapon is affecting this because we have two different beam weapons, one which is like a tractor beam. Yeah, so if we now take a look, yeah, not so verbose now. Remote tree, so let's go into, see some, all player ships are here, we know this is the new one. And we know we have our ship systems, which has an ore mining resource, and then we know that the ore mining resource doesn't have anything. No level. So it's not going up. We also know that we're not getting... Yes, our asteroid simulations are working. We know we're not doing damage to it. Let's turn off navigation, turn off a few more things. Just... Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here we can just kind of disable for the time being. It doesn't need to be logged. especially as the ships are entering gravity and leaving gravity. Gotta find a better way of like making my logging class silently log things, and maybe we just log it to a buffer or send it out to a syslog server or something. It's not like a big deal, but it does add up. Actually, I think all of this. So for station mode, then it's handled. I don't need an error for this. This is fine. It arrived. So this gas mining resource, we actually need to duplicate it. Both of these unready we need to actually duplicate, so they have a unique instance. Unless I made it local to the scene. I probably did make it local to the scene in the ship instance, but we might as well actually just confirm. It's not the issue though. I'm gonna deep copy it. Now, do we ever get this? So I'm ready. There, for a player ship. Okay, we have our resources. I'm just waiting to we got this here for ship systems. I don't think so. No. Got the mining beams. I'm wondering if the mining beams have spawned in. Maybe it's an order of operations. But the mining beams components haven't loaded in yet. So the systems are not actually doing their thing. And really, like, the ship systems need to kind of update only when they're so when ship components spawns in its components, it does tell it to update. Weird. Okay, so either way, it should have subscribed to the methods. Yeah, and all that's fine. Because the mining beam won't run its own if this. Yes, okay, so that's fine. So I don't think we're damaging. I also don't think we want to use this raycast. If a ship weapon has a raycast, which is protected, will we ever need it for anything? Nah, it can be protected. Okay, it's fine. Beam length. See, the issue is we have this default fire beams, which does damage. Good early return on this. If the target is a shard, then I just want to see what's happening here. Like, where are we doing damage to it? Are we doing damage to it here? Yeah, green's fine. Yeah, and just return. Don't do any damage to it. Don't reset the damage timer either. Just yeah, because I think the tractor beams might have to not be a beam weapon, just be its own type, like a unique type, because it's kind of acting under the presence of doing damage to something to absorb it, but that's not necessarily the case. Oh. Got it too early. But like we know we're doing damage, and we know that we're breaking them on the server fine. Right? We know that's happening. We also know the asteroid is taking damage. This is all fine. So we have our chunks now. Yeah, that's exactly it. It was taking damage. As you can see now, we are getting ore in the tanks. It's kind of missing. I guess I can just kind of like guard against it for the time being. Or maybe yeah, the issue is like the way that we're taking damage to it. It's kind of, when we're seeing if it's eye damageable, and the chunks are damageable, but it's not really damage. I mean, it is damage. Yeah, so we can guard against this. And we'll, if it is still damageable, we can just kind of, we can do the guard here actually. Yeah, it is technically damageable because it takes damage, but the only difference is we're not getting the, we need to get the emit with the mining beam. Astron, do you want to do some multiplayer mining? We do not more UI tests. Let me see if I have a refinery terminal. Because we have the ore in advance. Maybe we can find a mission real quick to. Yeah, I need to put the. Oh yeah, no, okay, so the fuel is, the ore is working. So let's see if we can do a mission for 544 ore. Do we have anything here for ore? 331 units of ore. See if we picked it up. So okay, very cool. So let's go and sell it. That completed the mission. And we got our credits for it, so it is working. We didn't get a UI update on it though. Hey, Zanurish. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Reg. Welcome, welcome. Those that are tuning in, my name is Revere. I'm working on a space game. It's called Unforgiven Space. Think of it like a Sea of Thieves in space, where you can do some mining, some salvage. All ship components are physicalized, so you can fully, outfit your ships. Interesting. My shield right now is actually blocking my component access because we're messing with everything. So I'm just testing out some bugs with the mission system. Yeah, I got a null ref on. And I'll just give you guys just the general gist. We'll go into the multiplayer testing just to kind of show you guys. We'll just run two. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. So, just a showcase. So, I'm working on a game. It's pretty much a Sea of Thieves in space. So, we have a little server player here. Join in with let's let's pick something similar to yourself here. You're gonna be ZNU RRISH, correct? Right, and you can see everything is working. Here's Zenrish, and all the IK is working. Right, we can head over, buy cargo. Right, there's all the different cargo that we can put on our ship. It's all working here in multiplayer. All missions are working in multiplayer. Right, we can do some delivery missions together. We can do some salvage together. We can kill some NPCs. We can do some smuggling. Right, but simple pick up and drop off tests. You can see it's all working here. In multiplayer, you can see me over there on the server. It's all working. I'm making money. All physicalized components, equipment, gear, things that you put on the ship. The NPCs themselves, right? All the ship components, right? And they all have their own height, So these are stuff that I bought, but this player, even though they're the server character, they can't tractor it because it's not theirs, but they can go buy their own. Maybe a shield generator or something. Right, it's got custom gravity. Right, so all while we're doing all this, the NPCs are buying cargo, they're selling cargo, they're doing their own missions, they're doing their own thing. Got some space weed. You gotta do some space weed running, you know. Some space butt around. Do some illicit stuff. But thanks for the raid. What were you working on? But Unforgiven Space, it's pretty. I'm working on a 3D multiplayer PvP arena in Godot C++. Hell yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, man, in multiplayer I'd love to change. I'd like to eventually do my own on top of Unit as well in C++. I worked on a server meshing system called Celestial, which is all, right now it's like just C Sharp. So it's just C Sharp using Godot's kind of built-in UDP, TCP resources, and kind of builds up everything from packet structure and everything like manually, and it works good. But like my issue as like a C Sharp dev is that like when I've never yet found a way with GD extension to build like good monoglue. So like whenever I try to build something, you know what I mean, in C++, I just have no idea how to utilize it in C Sharp. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, you know, and I just don't want to use this game itself comes from Unity. I spent 3 years originally working on it in Unity, and then I ported everything over. There's probably like, you know, 600 scripts in this thing. So here's like I call it the main project, but it's not the main project. It's the same repo, same code base. I've just swapped out all of the art for the more final versions. You need to write glue code in C Sharp for Godot if you want to use your C++ types. Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I need to figure out. Like if there's auto generators that I can use. That's why when I use like C. Yeah, there was a gentleman in the Godot Discord that I was chatting with, and he wrote a really cool multiplayer solution as well. And you know, as much as I would probably not deviate from C Sharp, I could probably mix and match both. You know what I mean? Or just use GD script as a medium for whatever. I'll need to really kind of look into figuring it out. But yeah, so this is kind of like where like I kind of left off with like the details of things before we ultimately I moved to what I call the systems project. So here's like how things were in Unity. So I had kind of when I ported everything over, I used Unidot. So this is what the ship actually looks like that you're kind of playing with, right? So this is like this is kind of where I was. I was at the time trying to like detail everything. I was doing both, right? I was kind of working in Unity as a vertical slice, right? And then once I moved to Godot, I'm like, do I really want a 12 gig project? You know, right? Like it just became too like in the way. So when I moved everything over, we switched to nothing but gray box. So gray box characters, gray box models, moved over the animations, cleaned everything up, and kind of backtracked, you know, to just so this way I could do builds faster, deploy them faster, right? So this is what the character, you know, actually looks like, right? So you know, I'm really excited for 4.6 to come out because I've been a big fan in Unity at least of the IK system, the animation rigging package in Unity. And ever since moving over, like the skeleton modifiers have been crap. And the way I had it set up in Unity was each weapon had IK targets on it with a IK blend value. So like think of it like, you know, every animation had like an override on the hand of how far open and how far closed for all the NPCs and players. And then I would IK them to that target and then blend from open to close. As everything in my game for the most part is like holding cylindrical objects. And I ended up in Unity. It was nice. You could like hold a beer bottle, or you could grab, you know what I mean, like a prop, and it was more for fun. Like if you're going around your little space station, you know, kind of decorating stuff. Like I added a bunch of, you know, kind of. I don't know if any of this will work right now. I think it's all being broken. Yeah, they're not spawning. But you can get your own little habitation module. Yeah, this project hasn't seen the changes, but the idea is like at each station you can spawn in your own little room, and then you can kind of decorate it and snap all these things. It's just a ship component system being used for something else, Why is that gravity so strong on this thing? But I'll need to redo a lot of this. There's a lot of systems, a lot of cool, like I used the vehicle, played around with the vehicle body 3D, like every little Godot system when I first came over I kind of played with to see like how it worked and how it compared to Unity. But yeah, that's the idea, you're just customizing everything. Even the engines are not working right now. Right, but that's the idea. Like I have it played around with like topology limits and how far I can push some of these instances, and played around with the rendering server. Made the asteroid system you see here. Have you downloaded the beta and tried the new IK stuff? No, I'll just wait for it to come out. And I kind of know my original process was to port like a fabric system over, but like I think Godot was missing a lot of things that we're now getting. Like a lot of the bone constraints, right, are kind of a key. Like if you can set up twist constraints and bone constraints and still have like, because before like Unity uses like a 2 or 3 bone IK with a magnet, like a reference of an object, and then in Godot like that magnet is just a vector. It's not like a node with the old skeleton IK system, and the new one I think is going to be amazing because if I've already incorporated the look IK modifier with like some of the nick limitations, and it looks great on NPCs. So when the new system comes out, I'm just going to dive in and we're just gonna get it working. I like some of the IK stuff because even on like NPCs, like we could turn it off at a distance. We can kind of it'll be cool. But that's the premise. Like the idea of the game is you can just be you can be a space scoundrel. I mean, you can incorporate some stuff. Think of it, like it looks a little bit like a Light Star Citizen, but it's more of a Cowboy Bebop universe, right? Because even my own IK stuff, I have some like multi-bone systems. They're just not advanced. Like if you notice, even because I originally wanted to do a multiplayer tutorial. Nah, what am I missing? I don't know. Right, I'm using a 64-bit build of Godot. I had a lot of issues with networking in Unity. When you're trying to build a big space game, because trying to do like relative positional networking is kind of crazy. Right, like you move 15 kilometers from the origin in Unity, and their whole world falls apart. Right, because everything is 32-bit. And I looked into switching the project over to dots, and dots was promising, and then the animation rigging stuff never moved the dots. So you always had to use game object representations of them, and then at that point it's kind of like, what you gain by making an NPC an entity in like memory utilization kind of goes out the window if you still need like a mono behavior version of it just to run like an animation tree. You're like, okay, well, this is not really giving me performance, unless I went to like, I don't know, I baked out a bunch of vertex animations and like did them on a shader or something. But I don't know. There's not a lot I miss anymore. That was one of the things. Yeah, I'll show you. There's definitely like there's definitely limitations that I see, But even here, like this is a really even my hand IK, it's a bit laggy. Like when I'm moving around, I'm actually using scene tree interpolation. So like this whole game is pretty much running in physics process, and I think I'm running at like 15 probably FPS right now just for testing. So like movement you're seeing, the jitteriness on the player side is the true lagginess, and everything else you're seeing is the interpolation. Because I think that's what I was testing with. But if you notice, like when I look up here, see how it like pivots on the chest. I'll move over. Right, so it's not just, it is a full like kind of multi bone, and that's using the old IK. This is just like the skeletal modifier 3D, the ones that are completely, depreciated. And I have a nicer setup on the rifle, but I disabled the rifle right now because it's too complicated. Right, until the new IK stuff comes in, doing ADS and things like that with that IK system, I don't really trust it. So this will do for now. We had a pool game. It was one of the first mini games I made when testing, some of the physics interpolation. Was just, let's just make pool, let's make the rules of pool and just put them in the game. Maybe a scratch, it just resets. The only thing is I need like a button that you can hold and it'll like, let you kind of make micro adjustments, because, oh, it didn't pocket. It scratched again. But anyway, this is the lore. Like, this is the world that we're building. Tis fun. But we're at the stage now where a lot of things are working. It's just, I don't know, a lot of cleanup, a lot of art now required to kind of get it to where I want it to be. So that's what I was working on. Like yesterday, we spent most of the day working on this aspect of it, the gravity testing here. Go back to 16.9. So I'll explain very briefly how this works. So each NPC has its own cycle. So there's 8 stats that an NPC has: hunger, tiredness, right? They're going and getting food. They're going to the arcade. They're getting some food. They're getting some water. So you could piece together a full end-to-end player experience. Oh yeah, yeah. Right, or they're going to their bed, and once they run out of idle, they're spawning in their ships. So they're actually going to their ships. Right, and then as soon as they get to their ships are taken off, and they're flying to the other station. Right, same thing is happening over here. All the NPCs are kind of running out of time, so they need to go do their mission, right? Whatever their objective is. Right, and then of course the station manager is keeping track of who's coming and who's going, and they're, once they become an NPC, it's handled by the star system zone, like ship system. But once they kind of arrive, then they become a regular NPC again. Hey, Momo, how's it going? You see, so like, so it's handling everything coming in, everything going out. It's not using the new system yet. It's just going to be like this full animated arrival and departure, because the idea is you want the NPC to kind of go to their own little elevator, and then you don't see them. But for, like, I ran this for like 2 days straight, right? Just get everything stable and working, right? I remember me used to talk, oh yeah, yeah, yep, absolutely. Right, so I got all of this working over the summer because it's very important for the NPCs to stay persistent, and they use a nice seed system. So like, whenever we generate an NPC, we're actually generating a seed, and the seed determines all of its initial stats and everything. And then when we, pass the NPC into their ship, we're not actually passing any reference. We're just passing the seed, and from the seed we can always derive what the ID is, and and then it's very small data, right? And then the NPC life cycle can continue as they go from place to place. So in the game, when you're doing missions, right, you're actually doing a mission for the NPC, not necessarily a ship. Just that if the NPC happens to be in a ship state, then you're going after the ship, and if not, you're going to go wait for them to, be done and take off and then jump them. So far, though, this is stable, and what's cool is like I'm just testing it here locally. This is all server side. All of this works. Like we can just go to these stations and have 2 or 3 players sit here and watch this all day, right? And it's all stable so far, anyway. But the flight model stuff needs to be improved. I need to we need to generate better like arrival. So this aspect here, like when this arrives and is given a so he didn't get one. He arrived too late. So he either needs to do a fly around and wait again, or move on to the next waypoint. Let's see how it creates a spline, like an approach line. We need a better system, a better spline generator. So that way we can get them in and out of the new stations, which are like these guys. So V2 truck stop. Right, so these are the new ones. Right, with all of our shops and everything. Right, so we need them to be able to fly in and out of these. So each what I want to do is have like each one of these hangars have not the word I'm looking for, but it's like kind of like think of it like an artistically created departure and arrival like curve, but the curve itself can rotate. You know what I mean? So if they're going to ultimately end up coming over here, right, it would like kind of bend this artistically created curve towards that point, right? So I need to kind of, I don't know, we're just generating like Bezier curves, but more intelligently. So because we want to be able to kind of do a fly by wire approach or departure, right? That we know is always going to be stable. We create a tunnel and you fly the tunnel. So my idea was we create like a curve, and then we're sampling a point on the curve and just kind of interpolating that point, similar to how like a path follow 3D works, but I don't think it needs to be that complicated. But we want to make sure that they're stable, that they have a true, like the user experience is important, but not as important as the stability of the NPCs themselves, because they're coming and going with goods and are actually making transactions. Like the economy itself depends on the stability of the system, right? If I look, let me show you guys. I'll show you guys the economy simulation. Some of you guys might find this really interesting, but this is like a contracts-oriented virtual system that exists on the premise that there are 1,000 NPCs, not physicalized, just in the background of things. And as every one of these NPCs, right, is like a whole star system, like our moving from place to place, and we can like speed this up and make it more or less stable, right, depending on oh god. So what I want to show here is we want to go into the future. And you can see like this is a refinery over here. All of these little gas mining ships are actually going and grabbing gas, hydrogen, which is being generated, and bringing it back to this refinery. And this refinery is like converting it into fuel. Hey, David. And then simultaneously, right, we have some ore mining. So we have some ice and we have some ore, and all of this is being brought over to this little refinery over here, which is more for physical. So we have a gas refinery and ore refinery. And then if you notice, there's a bunch of other chaos happening. These little red guys are pirates. And what the pirates are doing, the pirates randomly attack any cargo, any ship that has goods. And if they succeed in like attacking them, then security will spawn and go after them. So if you see these little blue guys, they're actually chasing after a pirate, and if they when they catch them, right, it gets destroyed. So there you go, it's gone, it's dead. And now a salvage contract has been created, and you're going to see one of the green salvage guys eventually. You know, there's only 10 of them. It's like a ratioed, system. There's always 1,000. Everything is, like stable to the demand, and someone will eventually come by and scoop this guy up and then bring its cargo, if there is cargo, to the nearest station. And as this kind of runs, this can run forever, speed up or slow down. The idea is each of the stations have their own dependencies. Like they have their own, like we need certain amounts of hydrogen, certain amounts of gas, certain amounts of, whatever their needs are, and then they create contracts. And the NPCs are just doing nothing but moving and satisfying these contracts. And then the player is mixed in with this, right? The player is just, everything that this simulates is just what you see it on a trade terminal. It's like an ant colony, yep. Right, but what's cool though, if you go to the pirate station, notice there's some ice here, right? Like this ice wasn't randomly created here. This ice came from a pirate who managed to successfully take some ice, right, from this ice mining operation and didn't get killed by a security ship. Similarly, like if you go to some of these like like random stations, they'll have goods that come in from salvage, right? So the idea is that like when you, the player, go up to a terminal, like all of the number of salvage contracts that you see are actually generated from the system, right? Like, if piracy is happening because there's a pirate station in the star system, then it's going to create all these security contracts and it's going to create salvage contracts. So you kind of know that there's a pirate station nearby just by the sheer number of contracts available, or by the number of salvage that's kind of being created, or vice versa, right? So, and then this simulation, which is obviously not going to be rendered, it's just physically rendered right now for the sake of, visualization. This can scale up and scale down its influence by the number of active players on a server. So that's the idea, right? So that way it can't be chaotically toppled, but it can, crash to a certain degree. But it's a true transactional like economy, like there's producers that are randomly producing stuff at a certain rate, but its ability to move through the system is done through an actual exchange, of actual transactions instead of just being random. The only thing truly random here, well, there isn't anything random, it's kind of like random in which NPC gets spawned where, or, what, like how many pirates get spawned, like that is random. Made rooms, cool. Let me room chatter here. Oh, that's cool, awesome. Okay, so we know. Let's start knocking things out. Okay, so this is now QA. Fuel system integration we could probably do. Refuel does not emit crosshair. So many things. Wait, let me see what's in issues. Debug. Anything first person beam does not disengage. When switching to weapons or tablet. Actually, this is one. This is one that actually needs to be moved. to systems, actually. I'll be right back and use the washroom. That glow is always fun. Let's put this back in reports. The cargo can start cargo site. Yeah, let's actually do some of this. Let's do some of the QA because that's what people are actually testing. Just make sure. But yeah, see, so far all of this is stable. Ships are doing their thing. They're flying around. They're bringing NPCs from point A to point B. They have a life cycle. Good. I wasn't going to fix the cargo grid issue. We have this on the gravity. So we're here, we're in a station, we're in gravity. Kill the player. They respawn. And the issue is that their gravity... Oh, their gravity is working now. What? Weird. Hang on, let me kill the other player. Yeah, it's working fine now. So maybe they need to be out of gravity and die. Okay, it just works. There are definitely some bugs. Okay, and let me kill him outside of the gravity. Okay, he's dead. And he spawns in gravity. But we're getting some weird errors. On which spawner? I love when it's like, wait, we must receive a spawn function, but it's not saying which script. Okay, either way, that's working. Oh, it's still actually freaking out. Is it my raycast looking at something I'm not supposed to? It's like we're not spawning anything right now. And no NPCs should be spawning. Okay, so I'm gonna consider that working. Weird. So the gravity does reset correctly. Wouldn't mind doing a follow chase cam, but the problem is I don't think it's a priority right now at all. What else is in issues? We could do the cargo fix. It's also not a super important one. Because the cargo grids are just vector 3i positions, and we just check and, you know, if it's available, you know, if it's available or not. I think what we were working on is an error system. So when we buy certain goods, and it makes the recommendation of where to snap it. So like here, we make a recommendation, we click. What I wanted is for that recommendation to go red if it's invalid. So we'd have a red one and a cyan one for like positive and negative. Because right now you can kind of place them on top of each other in their own kind of state of existence. And we can either solve that by not allowing it in the first place, like just don't visibly show a placement point, you know, if it's not valid. But I really like the idea of like still showing a preview, but maybe we do a unique material, like a negative material. The problem is we're kind of cloning the object, and having another clone of the object to do a negative versus a positive like effect. So we probably do one clone, but have two override materials, and we just swap between the materials. So then we still clone it like we regularly would, but we kind of, you know, override the materials appropriately. Because I wanted to do this, right? Like we can still technically do this, you know, which is kind of silly, because we're not checking, you know, adjacencies or how many things are below us, or, you know, wasn't necessarily a priority right now, just for the cargo system, but we could make it one. Yeah, because I think that's on the player rate. The player raycast right now is kind of taking care of that. Right, so it has a hollow material and a hollow material error. And there's something where we set it up, but I don't think we ever use it. And we never really adjusted it to showcase an error. All of this can't be. Is it all in that? Okay, no, it is. It's in just that test station. So is it cargo grid or cargo area? Cargo grid. Yeah, because I think this is the old grid. Yeah, so we're getting a grid index by position, but we're not considering this particular grid an actual voxel grid. We're just iteratively going from y x y z. Which makes it a lot more complicated for comparing what's below us or what's above us, and vice versa. So this needs to be refactored. Because we're using here for cargo items. Right, it's gonna spawn cargo item, add a position. We're spawning it at the index. Because it looks like I'm doing it here. Yeah, this is when we're dropping. So when we're dropping, it's interesting that this shouldn't let us do it. Hey, Tigo Blade. How are you? How is going the project you're working on? Great. Pretty good. We're just cleaning up stuff. Cleaning up stuff now that we're kind of back. Big emphasis to getting everything working in multiplayer was done. So all single player code was removed from the game because it was like, oh, it was slowing me down like greatly. And originally when I was prototyping, that was kind of the approach, you know, like so still have like single player controllers, single player ships, like, that didn't have RPCs, and ultimately that just like created chaos pretty much. Yeah, it's only really when I'm. So you don't have single player anymore, correct? Which means everything that can be played multiplayer. In single player is really just running it. You're like running it solo, like with the server being the host. So it's not like I couldn't test single player. It's just, I didn't need to create all this extra complexity with it. Yeah, like when it moves around and snaps. Only when we remove are we getting like a. I don't know what this timer is. There's like this verification timer that runs with like for a second with no other reason but to kind of verify my placement, but it doesn't do anything, which is weird. Right, so we're always getting this, but we're never verifying it. Yeah, the interface itself doesn't expose that. Yeah, because we can get the grid index, and then we can verify the grid index. Because we could try getting an existing cargo box, but it's slow. Right, we just do like is position occupied, or is index occupied. And we could expose this through the interface. Which I'm hoping right now only the cargo grid. How many cargo grids? Cargo boxes, cargo grid, cargo area should also implement that. So we get our index. One thing I'm so curious about is why don't you choose single player mode? Is there technical reasons for that? For multiplayer, you need RPCs. So for everything like requesting to pick up an item, dropping an item, like they're all RPCs. And if you have the right single player functionality and multiplayer functionality, then everything you're doing twice, right? Because a single player won't function the same way as a multiplayer player, right? Because everything has to become like requests and responses. But a multiplayer system can just host itself. You know what I mean? Like, so what is single player? Single player is you hosting, an instance where you are the only player playing it. And then if someone wanted to drop in or anything like that, or you wanted to expand upon it or whatever, then you can. And then you're only writing one class for each thing. You're not having to create this extra layer of complexity, right? Of trying to test it, single player. And I still don't like this code, but we'll see if it works. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. This doesn't implement it. Let me just implement it here in the cargo area. And does this area do the same thing? No, this is old school. Yes, this is we're just gonna, the grid won't contain a key because it's just a dictionary. We're gonna temporarily just return false for the old cargo system. Same thing, the ship cargo area also just a dictionary. Because we do have the grid here. Oh, are we just doing a dictionary that we're just keying by an index for the old system? Instead of it being like a type dictionary? Is that what we're doing here? Get grid export cargo, like this will bring this. Because we're placing it at an index. Right, move cargo to grid position. Here's a grid position, which should be the index. We update the grid. Yeah, that's what it is. It's literally why the dictionary. We just have keyed. Right? Why didn't it just do a public? I mean, it could still be a dictionary, but maybe to make it exported. Even then, it could just be this. It could still be a dictionary, but we can define the key for the grid. Oh, old code, right? Old code. Which means that technically would still work. Let me just implement this. And technically, yeah, it's still going to be the same thing. Even though So let's see if we get the red indicator. Little things. So like 1, 2. So red, 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 red. Wait, are we getting the opposite? Okay, we're getting red for this one. It's the opposite. Look, we were just getting a yellow there. Let's see, component area. That's weird. Yeah, so oh, it's the value. Not, I'm an idiot. If it contains the key, then something should be there. But we also need to know if the value also is something. Meh. Will that be right or no? It's grid. Let me try and opera into the grid. Try to get value index out. Value will be a variant type. Return. Was it nil? Let's see. If green index is the given expression state. dictionaries. If contains keys and operations. Oh, I gotta find later. All right, so we have. Difference between grid and item grid. Just a regular. Why isn't that valid? Why can't I just do a direct check? Right, the expression is never the provided cargo box type because it's a variant. Why wouldn't that cast to a variant work? If it was just a dictionary. Hello AI, explain to me. What did you say? No, because I want to check if it actually, if the value is a cargo box. Yeah, it's because it always infers that it's a variant. So we might have to actually try to get value. So cargo items. Maybe it's kind of cargo item. We set the placeholder. Picture 3i position, dictionary, picture 3i. I need to explain to me why this is wrong. Hello AI. You've come with a question. Why is CS occurring here? So the compiler warns that the check is never useful. You can simplify the method by just returning if the grid contains key index. But I want to check the value. Is index occupied? Try to get value out of value, and value is value item. That's the same. Only just. That still evaluates wrong. Still gives the warning. Maybe it's just a warning. The expression is because the type occurs because your type without dictionary is not actually storing cargo item objects in cargo grid. Grid is a dictionary, but you are storing string IDs or other types, not cargo item instances. What are you talking about? The grid. Oh, it's not cargo items. Code smell much, but what is the extra grid for? What is even this grid used for? Yeah, we're doing the same thing. It's a non-type dictionary. We're just using a vector 3i, but as a string. Oh, what? Is it just the ID of the cargo object and then its position? That's backwards. What is this thing? It's. Let me see what the stat is. Buy a bunch of crap. Okay, take a look at the remote tree. First star system. Cargo grid. Cargo area. The grid. Oh, so I'm not storing. Why? For network serialization? Why this? Why is the grid a simplification, but the cargo itself is flat? So we have like a vector 3i index with the data, which is what we're synchronizing over the network, but then like why not store it in this? Why the grid position on the cargo item? It's backwards. Okay, so I know what I'm doing wrong. Anyway, we just need to use grid items. Cargo items. I'm just going to say that we can simplify this a bit more. Prefer the null check because it's faster. Sure. Let me see if that's actually now being set. Cargo area. Right, so we have 2 cargo. But these are still flat, so we're not using that system here. The grid is the data. And cargo itself is just a flat array with 4 objects on it. There's not more than that though. Hang on, let me just 1, 2, 3. I have 9. Oh. Come on, update. So I'm seeing 2 there now. That's so weird. So it is station 1, cargo area, main station. Or does that work for this one? What's up? I'm streaming it. Oh, okay, cool. How is everyone's New Year's going? Good? Yeah, where is... There should be another cargo grid. It's not this one. This is the old original cargo grid. Which was cargo area. Which was only index-based. Didn't use the grid. That's the problem we're having with it. Right, so I'm just making it like never ignore it. There should be another type of cargo grid. Which we want to add. Right, there's a cargo area. I think I had one called cargo testing. What is this? No. So it's this one. So these are the three different types of grids. The new type. This one should show red or not. Or is it this one that'll show red? Anyway guys, food is here. I'm gonna go run and grab some food. I think I might change that format. But I will probably be back later on. I'm gonna end it here on YouTube. I'm gonna find